Hello, welcome to Homeschool Life. My name is Bobby, and in this video, we are going to be looking at Accounting Invoices Part 1, which is the creation of invoices. To do this, of course, we will need to be logged into the admin site. Once logged in, from the home page, you can access accounting in one of two ways, by clicking here or here. Once you do that, you will be on the accounts receivable listing. Of course, this is a listing of all of your member accounts, all of your families, and it gives you access to their statements of account, which we will look at in a little bit more detail later. But I'd like to go to the invoices listing first. Here you can see a list of all of the invoices that have been generated for all of your families. The first thing I'd like to look at is several ways that invoices are automatically generated by the system. The first way is through new membership registrations. And I want to show you where that takes place, where you actually input the information so that your accounting system will create these membership registrations automatically. So it's located under Members. I click there, and Registration Process here. If you scroll down to the very bottom of the membership registration process, you will see an amount in this field here. This is where you would key in your membership registration dues if your group would like to have those generated automatically when a new member signs up. I'm not actually going to change this because this group actually is set up the way it needs to be. But once you set this up and you save your changes, when a new member comes in and registers, there will be an invoice that is automatically generated. So let's go out into the invoices listing and find one, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I could either scroll down here or I could have filtered. We'll talk about that a little bit more later. But here is the membership registration request that was submitted by a lady named Jana Sharnick. So when she came in and requested membership, you'll notice that her name in this listing is italicized and that there's also an asterisk next to it. And if you notice this little box underneath my pointer there, it says that it is a membership request that is pending. So she requested membership. The description on that invoice is membership request. And of course, it is an unpaid invoice at this point in time. But that was generated by the system automatically. The second type of invoice that is automatically generated is for class registrations, for those of you that use class registrations. That is actually set up when you set up your classes. There is a special area called Finance. If you click on that, you'll see that there is financial information in here. This group has set up a payment schedule. They have a class fee for this class, and they have an account here for the teacher, and then it is the accounting category CRRP. I'm not going to get into what the various accounting categories are in this video. That is addressed in a separate video. But this is where the financial information is input for the classes, and then when a student is signed up for a class, invoices are automatically generated. One invoice if there is only one payment scheduled, or in the case of some groups that use CRRP with multiple payment dates, those invoices for each of those dates would generate. So if we return now to the accounting system and we look at the invoices, we can easily identify class registration invoices that were automatically generated by the system. Here's a group right here for Barbara Gordon for her daughter Jamie that signed up for World Literature. The next type of invoice that will automatically generate by the system is for calendar event signups. So if we go to the calendar options, I know there's an event out here that's being held in December. It's a play. And when you set up your field trips, there is a section called signups. And in the signup section is where the financial information is placed. In this case, there are two different tiers. One is for students, which is a $5 cost. The other is for an adult ticket, which is $7.50. Once this information is input into your event setup, and this information is saved, when a family registers for an event, invoices are automatically generated. If we return to the accounting system, back to the invoices listing, we can find here an example of that is the Brenner family signed up for that very event we were just looking at. They signed up Courtney, Allie, Aiden, and Mary, and those invoices were automatically generated when they signed up for that event. And the final way that the system will automatically generate invoices is by using IForms. IForms are pages that are set up by your group so that members can come in and fill out information on a form that you wish to capture. In some cases, you might wish to capture a bunch of information and then have an invoice generate so that they can pay for something. In the case of this group, there is an iForm setup for yearbook sales. I'm not going to go through the setup of an iForm, that would be a different video entirely, but I do want to show you where the accounting information is placed in an iForm if you do want an invoice to generate. It is placed in the completion settings. At the very bottom, you have the option to choose what account this will be for, what the payment type is, whether it's a South sale or a yearbook sale or what have you. And then you can indicate here that it's a single item or multiple items and the amount that you will be collecting for this once this form is filled out by a member. I will mention that with iForms, the only way that iForms work is if you are using PayPal for payment processing. If you are not, this will not generate an invoice when somebody fills out the form. The other thing is that the only way that an invoice will generate is if the member actually goes through the process of paying through PayPal when the form is filled out. Otherwise, it will not generate an invoice. So the generation of invoices using iForms is limited, though some groups do find that it's helpful and it works well for them. Returning now to the accounts receivable listing, I'd like to take a look at how you can create invoices manually. We spent a lot of time looking at how the system can generate invoices, but you can also at any time create invoices yourself. These can be created from this receivables listing, from the invoices listing, or from within a member's invoice and payment detail. We'll look at that a little bit later. But let's start from here. To begin, we go up and select the icon that says Add Invoice. And then we're directed to this screen where we can do so. The first thing you have to decide is to whom do you want to issue this invoice? Let's start with issuing an invoice to all members at the same time. A great example of when you might do this is when you're ready to send out renewal invoices for the beginning of the school year. Instead of having your members fill out some kind of a form and generating an invoice that way or having them re-register, you can just send out invoices to all of them at the same time at the beginning of every year. To start with, we need to select the active members. So we click on from the family dropdown, all active members. Notice that it is now highlighted in blue. And then we go down to the rest of these fields and fill them in. So I'm going to select the category, RR, registration and renewals. It's in my general account. I'm going to leave the date. Maybe I want to put a due date in of the end of the month. I would type a description in this field here. If I wish to type in any notes, maybe for future reference, I could type them here. This would only be notes that would be seen by an admin user. The members would not see these notes. And finally, I would key in an amount in this field here. Now you have an option to either email this invoice to all of your families or just to place the invoices into their member accounting. If you wish to email all the families, you would click on Yes. Notice when you do that, that your admin email address appears here. If you wish to send a copy of all of these invoices to your admin, you would leave that address there. If not, just highlight it and delete it, and the admin will not receive copies of all of those invoices. If you don't want to send invoices to the family, of course, you would just select no. When you're finished, you would obviously select Save Invoice. I'm not going to do that because we have already had invoices generated for this group. But what I will do now is go out to the invoices listing and show you what those look like. Now, I've already filtered here by the RR invoices. So they're showing up here. Notice these top two, these are actually new membership requests. So those were not manually created. Those were generated when these two people requested new membership. But the rest of these that you're looking at here, all the way down, even into last year, because I did not filter by year here, these are all invoices that were generated at the same time and sent out to the members for their renewals. The next type of invoice creation I'd like to look at is for an individual member or maybe a few select members. Now we can add an invoice from the invoices listing, which is where we are now. We just go up and choose the icon for add an invoice. And again, the first thing we have to decide is who's going to get the invoice. In this case, let's just pick a few select members. Let's say we want to send it to the Gordon family and maybe the Jacobs family. Maybe just two families are going to get this invoice. The way I highlighted those is I put my mouse pointer on the name of the family and I clicked my control key each time. So that highlights each one. Again, I'm going to fill out the fields just like I did before. Maybe this is a different category. Maybe this is a cleaning fee that we're assessing these two people. We put in a date, we put in a due date, a description, any admin notes that we might wish, the amount. And again, we could either email it to them or not, and then we save that invoice. So that would be how we would send it to two members. Now, if you decide, oh, I didn't really mean to send it to the Jones or the Jacobs family here, you would just hit your control key again and click, and it will disappear. And I'm going to do that there too. Okay, so that's how you would send it to one member or maybe just to a few select members. Another thing that you might wish to do is to send invoices out by section. If you're not familiar what sections are, I'm going to scroll down here and show you. In this group, they have three sections: South, North, and Teachers. Sections are like subcategories of your membership, and you can group certain members that have something in common into these groups. Where this is actually set up in your system is under Members, Sections. And you can see here that this group has those three sections that we saw in the Add an Invoice listing. So returning now, well, before we return, I do want to show you where you can add members to your sections. That is done in Families, Edit Info. And you can see here, I'll expand this so you can see it better. You can see here that the sections are listed in this column and that each of the families are already members of certain sections. If I want to remove them, say from a section, I can click here, or add them to a section. I just click in there. So this is where the sections are actually maintained. But let's say that you want to go back to your accounting tool. And again, we're going to send an invoice out to people in a certain section. So let's scroll down to the bottom and let's choose the South cell. Again, we highlight the South cell under the Directory Sections area. We would just create an invoice the same way we did with the others. I'm going to choose the South cell category so that when I run my accounting reports, it will group all of those together. We'll leave the date the same, maybe put a due date of the end of the month. The description here might be something like maybe they are starting up a PE group and everybody has to pay some dues so they can buy playground equipment. So we could just type in PE group dues. We could type in an admin note if we wanted to. The amount, maybe we're only charging $5 per family. And again, you have the option of either emailing the family or not. And when you're done, you would save your invoice. I'll go ahead and save that. When we go back out now to our invoices listing and remove the filters that I had in there previously, we should be able to see now everybody that is part of the South cell received invoices for their PE group dues. There's another interesting thing you can do when creating invoices. It's not used very often, but every now and then it is used, and it can be handy. That is, you can create an invoice, and let's say that you're going to create this invoice for more than one family, and they're going to be essentially the same with maybe only one difference. So basically you want to duplicate an invoice and just maybe change one thing quickly. So let's say that we want to create an invoice for maybe a cleaning fee. Maybe your co-op gives people the option of either cleaning or paying a fee for perhaps cleaning supplies. So let's say we have a few of our members who determined that due to their schedules, they're not going to actually be able to take part in the cleaning. So they've decided they want to do, they want to pay a cleaning fee. So let's say that the Gordon family wants to do that. So we'll pick the Gordon family. We're going to just create our first invoice. It's a cleaning fee invoice in the general account. There's the date. Again, we can always pick a due date, whatever date we want to. So the description here might be cleaning fee. And maybe we do this determined by the size of their family. So maybe it's $5 per child. Assuming they have more children, they would be using more of the supplies, paper towels and paper plates and things like that. So maybe each child, there's a $5 fee unless they decide to help out as part of the cleaning crew. So again, I can choose either to email the family or not. In this case, I won't. But I'm going to save and duplicate this invoice. Instead of choosing the save invoice option, I'm going to save it and duplicate it. So when I do that, it says it had created the invoice successfully. But now notice that all of the fields are still filled in. Cleaning fee, account, date, due date, description, and amount. So maybe the only thing I want to change, I'm going to send it this time to, let's say I'm going to send it to the Lambert family. And maybe the Lambert family has 2 children. So the only thing I want to change on here is the amount. So I would put in the new amount. If I'm done, I would just say save invoice if I don't have any more that I want to create. But if I want to create another one, I would save it and duplicate. Again, I come back in and I have all of the fields filled out. So maybe we want to send one now to the Schmidts, and maybe they have 3 children. So maybe their fee is $15. I would save that invoice and we'll say we're finished at that point. Once we've created those invoices, you can now see from the invoices listing, here's the 3 invoices that I just generated, each for a different amount, but everything else on the invoice is essentially the same. With that, I'm going to return to the admin homepage with just a brief reminder that if you need additional assistance, you can always visit our technical support center and create a ticket. Also, you can visit the Help Center, where you can often find helpful videos on a number of different topics. This concludes our video on Accounting Invoices Part 1, in which we covered the creation of invoices. Be sure to watch Accounting Invoices Part 2, in which we will look at the invoice listing in greater detail. We'll talk about filtering invoices, printing that listing, downloading it, and we'll also take a look at the member invoice and payment details, where you can do these same functions on specific member accounts. Also in that video, we'll be taking a look at editing and deleting invoices. This concludes our video. Thank you for watching.